Good morning, restaurant owners, and welcome to this week's Facebook Live training. My name is Tim Cernett. I'm a CPA, and I'm the founder of Financial Optics, where we help independent restaurant owners increase profits and cash flow by providing financial clarity, actionable financial insight, and strategic foresight. This weekly training is designed to help you use your accounting systems to take your business to another level with better decision making and better operators, making you better operators so you can improve profits and cash flow. So last week we covered the 5 moves that separate profitable restaurants from the rest. This week we're going to do a deep dive on one of those most profitable moves, food cost control. If you've missed last week's training, it's still here on this Facebook page, so you can go back and watch it, but you don't need to get value from today's presentation. Let me share my screen and we'll get started with the slide deck for this week and put that in the presentation mode so you can see the full slides. All right. So here's a stat that you may have heard before, and it should bother every restaurant owner. And I've done some research for credible sourcing on this stat, and it holds up. The average restaurant loses somewhere between 5 and 10% of all food it purchases. It never reaches the plate. It goes to waste through spoilage, overproduction, overportioning, poor ordering, or just not tracking what's happening in your kitchen. On a restaurant doing $2 million a year with a 32% food cost, which is a pretty good food cost percentage, that's roughly $640,000 in food purchases over the course of an entire year. If you're losing 5% of that to waste, that's $32,000 a year walking out the back door, lowering your bottom line, and going into the dumpster, or just quietly evaporating from your operation and you're not sure where or how. And here's the thing, that 32,000 goes straight to your bottom line if you can capture even a portion of it. We're not talking about selling more food. We're talking about, and we're not talking about raising prices. We're talking about keeping more of what you've already purchased. So reducing food cost isn't about some powerful trick. It's about consistency, visibility, and accountability. The tools I'm going to show you today are simple, but simple doesn't mean easy, but it does mean possible and it does mean powerful. And here's a bonus insight before we dive in. Just the act of setting the intention of lowering food costs by building it into your operating plan, building these tools into your operating plan, often leads to smarter behavior across the board. When your team knows you're watching the numbers tend to get better, and your A-player team members love accountability. So over the next 15 minutes or so, we're going to be going over these 4 tools to stop the bleeding of food waste. And these aren't complicated, like I said, but they're not necessarily easy because they do require some discipline and consistency and the mindset for discipline and consistency, all of which are free and cost you nothing. So let's go through the inventory systems that you need to put in place, the waste tracker to see what's going out and why, the key item tracker, controlling your highest value, highest risk items on a daily basis, and then sales projections and how to use those with purpose to match demand before it happens. So tool number 1, the inventory system. If you're not taking inventory, you're guessing at your food costs, not managing it. Guessing, period, end of story. An inventory system is the foundation. Everything else we talk about today builds on this. If you don't have the inventory system in place, you don't have real food cost data. You have an estimate, and an estimates don't cut costs. So tracking inventory monthly at a minimum. Once it's dialed in, a full inventory should take less than an hour. Several of my clients take inventory weekly because they see what it does for accountability, par value precision, ordering discipline. There's so many benefits to a regular inventory system. Monthly is the floor, but weekly is where the real leverage starts to show up. Organize and label everything. Your shelves, coolers, freezers, they need to be organized so every item goes into the same place every time. Organized and labeled. Like I said earlier, this is not complicated, but it does require discipline and consistency. A messy walk-in cooler equals wasted time and wasted money. Organization is the prerequisite to having an effective system. Then you build your sheet to shelf system. Once you're organized and labeled, your inventory count sheet should mirror your physical storage layout. Exactly. When that sheet follows the shelf, inventory stops being a painful chore and starts being a fast, repeatable process. Software like Margin Edge can help with this, sheet to shelf, and all aspects of tracking inventory. Also include everything you prep or make in-house. Soups, sauces, dressings, all the house-made items belong on your inventory and part of your inventory, and you need to assign a real cost to them. This is actually the first step in setting up the detailed menu item costing process that we're going to talk about here in a few weeks. And that is one of the most powerful tools to improve your profits is the menu cost engineering. Use technology where you can. Manual is fine to start. A clipboard and a spreadsheet will get you there as long as you're organized with all your coolers and shelves with labels. But tools like Margin Edge can take this to the next level. It takes the sheet to a phone, a PC, or a tablet. The result is faster counts, automatic cost updates when you receive the product, and integration with your accounting system. The technology doesn't replace the discipline, it accelerates it. Know the real food cost formula. And here's an important point. A lot of owners think food cost is just purchases divided by sales. It's not. Here's the real formula. Over a period of time, a week or a month, it goes beginning inventory at the beginning of that period, plus purchases made during that period. That gives you your total available product. Beginning inventory plus purchases, subtract your ending inventory because you're doing an inventory at the end of every week or the end of every month at a minimum, and that gives you your usage. Beginning inventory plus purchases during the period minus your ending inventory gives you your usage. Food cost percentage is your usage divided by gross sales. Without beginning an inventory, you're not calculating food costs, you're guessing, and even a half percentage point matters. On a restaurant doing $200,000 a month, half a point is $1,000 a month eroded from your bottom line, $12,000 a year. Precision leads to savings, and no inventory equals no real food cost data, period. Okay, I think I've beaten that to death. On to tool number 2, the waste tracker. You can't fix what you can't see. Waste is death by 1,000 cuts, and the only way to stop it is to make it visible. You've heard me say waste costs the average restaurant 4 to 10% of what it buys. But here's what makes waste especially dangerous. It's invisible until you start tracking it. It's a drop here, a spoilage case there, an overportion on every plate. No single event looks like a big deal, but over a month, over a quarter, it adds up to thousands of dollars. Okay, using a simple clipboard tracker. Low tech works perfectly here. A clipboard in the kitchen, what was wasted, how much, and why. Time of day, and I think I've got a little example here. Yeah. Time of day, item wasted, the quantity, one portion, the reason for the waste, the employee that was involved in the waste, and the manager on duty at the time. You record these every day. The sheet is available in the kitchen. And everything we talk about here today also applies to your bar and your liquor, beer, wine. The same system works there, as well as inventory. That applies to your bar as well. So another example, a ribeye steak, one portion, it was a dead plate. Who was involved and who is the manager on duty? So make it team led, not a gotcha tool. If your team sees the waste tracker as a punishment, they'll stop using it honestly. Frame it as a coaching tool. Team ownership drives better results, and the goal is accountability, not blame. Your best people will actually love this system because it creates a culture of precision, accountability, and protects honest staff. And here's where the waste tracker connects to the next tool. Because when you start tracking waste, you're going to want to know whether the waste accounts for all of the products that's gone missing. That's where the key item tracker comes in. You don't need to track every item every day. What we're tracking here are your high value items that have the biggest impact on your bottom line and on your guest experience. High impact items, expensive, easy to waste, easy to walk out the back door, and critical to your guest experience. Those need close attention. Choose 5 to 10 per week. Steak, salmon, shrimp, avocados, whatever's pricey and high volume in your operation. You're going to also want to include items that you simply cannot run out of. The things that would damage your guest experience if they were 86th. Rotate the selection, a different set of 5 to 10 items each week, so you're covering the high value inventory items over time. So I thought I had an example of that. We don't. What's your counting? For every item that you select for that week, you're going to start with your beginning count, what was prepped or purchased that day or that shift, and then subtracting what was sold. And that should give you your expecting ending inventory at the end of the day or the end of the shift, if you're doing this by shift. And then you log what you're actually counting for that particular 5 to 10 items that you're covering that day. If you end up with a shortage, that shortage should be able to be tracked back to your waste tracker so you understand what's happening with your items and why they might be missing. If the variance doesn't align with your waste tracker or your waste log, you've got a shrinkage problem. And we all know the awkward, uncomfortable feeling when shrinkage shows up, but it has to be dealt with. You have to see it for the benefit of your business and everyone who depends on your business. You have to deal with shrinkage. You have to go to that uncomfortable place and deal with shrinkage. So again, the waste tracker, you're starting for those 5 to 10 that you've selected, the beginning inventory for the day. You're logging that in the sheet before you even start the shift or start the day. Again, you can do this for each day or each shift. You're adding to that beginning inventory what's been prepped for that item for the day or delivered by a vendor for that day. You're subtracting from that total what was sold. That comes directly out of your point of sale system. That's easy information to pull out of your point of sale system. And that should give you what you expect to have at the end of the shift or the day as your inventory. And then you actually count it and match it to that. If there's a mismatch, that should trace back to your waste log. So your A players are going to welcome this type of accountability because it protects them from blame and it creates a culture where everybody is responsible, everyone is protected, and everyone is contributing to the business. Okay, the next tool is weekly sales projections. Inventory control without sales forecasting is like driving blindfolded. Projections connect your purchasing to your expected demand and protect both your margins and your guest experience. Here's where the whole system comes together. You've got inventory telling you what you have. You've got the waste tracker and the key item tracker telling you what you're losing. But if you're not projecting what you're going to sell, you're still ordering by gut. Even though the other tools have helped you put some precision in your par values, you're still ordering by what you expect top of mind or in your gut to be for next week's coverage you need. Gut ordering leads to over ordering, spoilage, and occasional nightmare running out of the key item on a busy Saturday night. So even if it's not perfect, do some projections. The imperfect projection is actually better than no projection at all. Use your point of sale data. Look at the 3 week, the 6 week averages, factoring events, holidays, what the weather forecast is coming up, local happenings in your neighborhood for your restaurant. And there's also AI powered tools like Margin Edge that can automate this. They actually have a projected sales feature. And they'll even factor in local events and weather patterns, but the spreadsheet and your experience will get you started. Projections should drive your purchasing decision. Match your orders with your precision par values that you've developed over the time using inventory, waste tracker, key item tracker. Match your orders to your expected demand based on your projections. Balance those inventory levels with anticipated volume. It's not rocket science. The goal is just enough, not too much, not too little. And later in the series, we're also going to see how projections impact your labor cost and your scheduling. So projections impact more than one area. Running out of a key item isn't just a cost problem, it's a guest experience problem. So smart projections mean you're ordering with purpose. Your par values get even tighter over time when you're using projections, and the waste goes down because you're not over ordering, you don't have spoilage, and your guests get the menu items they came for. You're not just saving money with projections, you're saving your guest experience, and this is what keeps people coming back. Okay, let's bring this all together. The four systems are: the inventory tells you what's going on, what you have, what it costs, where your real food cost percentage is. The waste tracker tells you what's going out and why. The key item tracker controls what matters most to you, your high value items that drive both profit and guest satisfaction. And sales projections help you plan ahead so your ordering matches demand and everything else gets easier. When these four tools are working together, you stop guessing and start managing your food purchasing process and managing your food cost. You see the hidden profit that was there all along. You just couldn't see it before. So here's your action step. Pick one of these tools and commit to using it consistently for the next week or even a month. Just one, get it into your rhythm, introduce it to your team, then add the next one. And if you're feeling ambitious, implement all four, get your team involved from day one, and make sure your team understands the why. Why are we doing this? It's not about catching people doing something wrong. It's about improving the operation for everybody, improving customer satisfaction, and improving accountability so everybody wins, you and your team. Okay, now food cost control is one of the most powerful levers you have, but it doesn't exist in a vacuum. Your food cost data is only as good as the financial systems feeding it. If your chart of accounts isn't set up to give you food cost by category, if your point of sale isn't integrated with your accounting system, you're not tracking, or if you're not tracking inventory at all, then even the best tools are working with incomplete information. That's why I created the Restaurant Financial System Scorecard. It's a free self-assessment that lets you evaluate how your restaurant's entire financial infrastructure is working. Not just the food cost, but your accounting setup, your prime cost visibility, your planning, your cash flow systems. It shows you where you're strong and where the gaps might be quietly costing you money and eroding that bottom line. I'll drop a link in the comments below this video to the scorecard. Take the scorecard, see where you stand in your restaurant. It takes about 10 minutes, and it might be the most useful 10 minutes you spend on your restaurant this week. Now, I also know some of you might be thinking, I just want to schedule a short call to talk about some of these issues. And I get it. Because I love talking to restaurant owners, I'll also leave a link to my calendar where you can schedule a meeting. And by the way, I prefer a Zoom meeting, but a call is just fine too if that's what you prefer. So next week, we're going to be tackling another side of prime cost, menu engineering. I'm going to show you how to use recipe costing, contribution margin analysis, and the menu mix optimization to make sure every dish in your menu is earning its place. It's one of my favorite, and you won't want to miss it. Thanks again for, let me stop the share quick. Thanks again for joining me this morning. Have a great week, and we'll see you next week.